Good night. Good night. Good night to all. Good night. Good night. Good evening. Good night. Good morning. Good afternoon to all who are now joining, whichever part of the world you're now joining from. Good night. Good evening. Good night. Good morning. Good afternoon. Share the live. Share the live as you now come in. Please share the live. Share the live. Share the live as you know. Enter, share the live, share the live, share the live. Mhm. Okay. Thank you very much for those who are now joining. Share the live. Share the live as you now come in. Share the live. Share the live. Share the live. Share the live. Good evening to all. Good evening to all. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. So, good evening from Guyana to the Caribbean Isles, to West Indian Isles, the Pacific Isles, the British Virgin Isles, the Maldives, Mexico, US, Canada, UK, EU, especially from the nation of China, Hong Kong, Beijing, especially from Japan and Taiwan, to those who are now joining from from the country of India, that large chunk of land, to those who are now joining from the Australian continent, the New Zealand Isles, the Pacific, to the Tonga Isles, especially from the African continent, to those who are now joining from the South American continent. Good evening to you. Good evening to you all, especially from Argentina, Chile, Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, Suriname, French and Dutch Guyana. To those who are joining us from the Netherlands and Curacao, Trinidad and Tobago, good night to you all. Good night, good evening. Welcome. We got a specific topic tonight. I want to address the elephant in the room. It's a big elephant, but it's time we address the elephant in the room. It is time we be It is time we be, how should I put it over? Focus upon a topic and issues that are affecting us in this country. Discrimination of our elders is something that we cannot sit back and participate in. A few years ago, there was a police service commission, and on that commission, I don't care how people look at it, people who served the Ghana police force with credit served on that commission. Whether you like it or not, whether you like the people or not in the commission, it's not for who for you to like, really. It's who can continue the struggle to make the Ghana police force a better place. Now we have Barrett Jackdio, who is who is serving his third term as president. Y'all don't bother with air fraud. Air fraud don't make no sense. You understand? But we got Barrett Jackdio, who is serving his third term and realized that he's doing a lot of people a favor. So he's getting rid of people who he does not like Mr. Paul Slow. Now, Mr. Paul Slow's life is now being threatened with people of questionable characters. Somebody leaked out some information giving the Guyanese public that there is an intention to kill Mr. Paul Slow. So now it's up on the news media. Can you remember this, how they used to do it when they were in power? They put a bounty on your head, and when you get scared and you run away, somebody come and snuff the life out of you by a gunshot. That's what used to happen. You remember the infamous George Bacchus, who said and talked all the things about this de facto administration? So we want to point out to the Guyanese people, especially those of the black community, that their black leaders are questionable characters, and they question them because based upon the things. And Mr. Jagdio sits there and talk all kind of ill-mannered things of them. But this man forget himself. If you can sit down and call parliamentarians hungry belly dogs, so what about you? You're a thief. That's what you are. So what about you? You were president when people were murdered. You ain't no different. You identifying who you think you don't like, and you forget yourself. So when you point at people, remember this thumb finger is pointing right back at you. Because we know who you are. We don't have to get evidence. You were president when Ronald Godraj, then the Home Affairs Minister, hired the mighty first Phantom Squad, civilians running around killing people, put up in a house in Bel Air, right next to you. And then he had the audacity to stand in Parliament and said to the nation, if it was him to do it back over again, he'd do it. So now, Mr. Jagdeo, you're wanted in questioning of the actions of your then Home Affairs Minister, who was in connection and cohorts of murdering Guyanese. Now you were on the high side, trying to discriminate our elders. Many of us might like Portslow. Many of them, and you, but he's an elder. Whether or not he stands up for justice and rights, that's his point. Whether or not some might like him because they might like something that he did in the past, he's a representation of us, a people. We gotta got some representation because if you're talking about people and their discriminatory acts, you gotta remember yourself, Mr. Jagdeo. You were once president, and you're having a party who's representing you because of your murderous reign as president. So I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to create an atmosphere of untrustworthy people. But you're forgetting yourself. Nobody can trust you. How can we trust you? That is tonight's topic. How can we trust you? For me, I am different. I want to die for something instead of live for nothing. So I know what I'm doing here. It is because of my choice. I prefer to die for something, for the cause of the people of this country, instead of living for nothing. To anyone who can speak out that you think you can buy, you're willing to trap them under your infamous arms of destruction so you can control their lives. Just like how your life has been controlled like a puppet on some strings. That's how I'm seeing it. But we can't sit down and allow them to kill Mr. Paulson. Because this is what happens when they murder us in the streets. And then we sit down and say, oh my God, we can't do nothing. What we gonna do? And we tell ourselves these things, we become more weak. Let me share a secret with you. We talked about mental illness. In a nutshell, it is weakness and fear, but we call it mental illness. When someone gives up hope, he or she tells himself that there's nothing else that they can do. There's nothing viable they've seen that they can come out of whatever situation they're in. That is what Guyanese tell themselves. They've given up hope. So they tell themselves that they can't come out of the situation that they're in. So you got myself, Paul Slow, Mark Benchcap, Ritford Burke, Sherrod Avery Duncan, and some other rest of people who, and Kadaki, yes, Kadaki Amsterdam, those who can come on the social media and talk for the rights of the people, because we have not given up hope. But I don't hold on to hope. I hold on to what I know. And I revolt to the things that are oppressive, because I refuse to accept an oppressive regime to oppress me and to silence me, because I will normally say, I will not be silenced. nor I will not go quietly into the night. I will stand against all forces, and I will crumble them like dust to dawn. I refuse to be a puppet on a string. I refuse to be your slave, but I ain't running no away. I am not going to be seen as a runaway slave because I ain't no slave. I'm going to be seen as a tyrant into the eyes of the enemy and into the pathway of evil. I will break the backs of the dictators to let them know I'm a force to reckon with. And why I say these things, because I'm helping you to understand that we should not accept discrimination of our elders. We should not. We should never go down this road. It's impossible to go down this road. Over the years, the people who will stand up to represent us were being murdered. Ronald Waddle is one. Courtney Crummy Wing was another one. These people represented us. Mark Benchcap was in prison for 5 years because he decided to stand up for the people, and he used to represent them same people when he first came. So nobody was perfect. But he sat down and realized this is too much terror and tyranny, murder and mayhem. So he decided to speak out about a evil and tyrannous regime, death and mayhem. That is all the PPP knows. Mothers are still crying out in the streets for their loved ones who were murdered during the time of Bar Jack. Now he's back on the back of a camel, trying to gather us like sheep, parading us to the slaughter. And we sit down there and just smile and give up hope, say that we can't do nothing. What we gonna do? Let us take that insensitive word away from our lips. Because when you continue to speak it, you weaken those that are next to you. You make those who wanted to be educated decide to be uneducated and to be continued to be misinformed so that they will become uninformed, not informed. But I don't care if my job remains hard and the things I'm supposed to do or that I'm still doing. I prefer trod this line. I prefer the life and the breath of my fellow brothers and sisters that keeps them alive than money to take away their lives. Because that is all some of us are settling for. You could imagine. The word is on the streets that they're planning to kill Mr. Slow. That's how it works. When he's found with a bullet to the back of his head or in the front, then we cry, we wail. Another brother died, or another leader died. We should not accept this. We shouldn't sit down and accept, because death should never be imminent to our leaders. It should never. We should stand and rally against such evil. It should never be We should rally against such a murderous regime because this is all they know. When they can't get it their way, they intend for it to stay by all means necessary if they have to kill another 1,480 people. I don't know how we can come around accepting the continuous parade of our leaders going to the slaughter, to the use of the Ghana police force, to exaggerate their willingness to dictate upon a nation, taking away your rights. And now you have to find money to challenge the legal system, which does not represent you. Because you imagine they're charging you and they're placing you before the court without a statement of evidence or without any evidence at all. Can you imagine these things? And they're so much annoyed with you when you stand up to represent yourself. Well, you shouldn't. You're a black man. What do you want to representing yourself? You're supposed to go to jail. By all means necessary, you're supposed to die without any justification. That is what is happening. And those who support a tyrannous regime are smiling so pretensively in front of your face. Some of them only smiling and saying what you are just waiting for the boss your head. That's what some of them are waiting so patiently, so they can stand and clap and enjoy themselves. Remember, I said, I'm a force to reckon with. I'm a tyrant of my own will. I will refuse to be threatened. I refuse to run and shelter under a bushel. I will stand in front of you. And I will look you down that barrel of a shotgun. And I will say to you, make my day. Make it right. Don't hesitate. Because I know you wouldn't sleep well after that. I will be on that mountaintop where I will tell the world of the undemocratic state of this murderous regime that only spews terror among the population of Guyanese. I will stand upon the rooftops and I will say to my brothers and sisters to revolt against such actions. We need to start now. That is what we need. We don't need to sit down and to give praises because Governor Matthews is talking out on it. We need to start now. Hold a minute, please. Thank you for calling the GMS Live Voice of Democracy. Good night to you. Yeah, good night. Good night to you.
I was watching all the time and everything, so what? They said I'm calling tonight.
Okay. I'm listening.
Why PNC and DUP can't come together and work together?
That is, I can't answer you that question because I'm not a politician.
Okay.
I'm a Guyanese who are tired of seeing our brothers and sisters being murdered and killed because of nonsense. I'm tired of seeing Luzignan massacre. I'm tired of seeing Bartica massacre. I'm tired of seeing Linden. I'm tired of seeing Georgetown. I'm tired of seeing policemen and women being killed. I'm tired of seeing a young man can't live to meet 21. That is why I'm on this forum. I'm tired of all these things. Go ahead though. Don't let me break you. Go ahead.
I wish if these two big party can work together and unite the people there. I wish. I don't know if it will happen, but I wish it will happen.
Okay, I'm listening.
That is all problem. I just ask that if you can live it there. I wish it will happen.
Okay. I very much appreciate that. I very much appreciate that you call in and say that. Okay?
Okay, guys, that's what we're on now.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me call back this person. I got a missed call from this person. Yes, I'm taking calls. Yes, I'm taking calls.
Good night.
Good night to you. This is GMS Live, the voice of democracy. Dr. Matthews calling you back.
Yes, I'm calling to give my take.
Go ahead.
Mr. Waddle speak how they kill Mr. Waddle. And I could name a few that speak out that they kill, right?
Mm.
This felt John Imes speaks so many things that he had the contract was to kill Mr. Waddle. Nobody kill him. Nobody kill him. Roger can't speak so much about his son or whoever they kill by Palm Court. Nobody kill Roger Khan. So why Mr. Slow cannot speak on the wrongdoings that they want him to do? Not threatening, but this is all I ask of they Gavin. Anytime they feel or they think that they could kill Mr. Slow, any one of the MP, correct man, Donald, Amanda Walton, Desir, and I could name them. Anytime they touch any one of y'all, Diana would be in an uproar because it would be nice. It wouldn't be nice. Nobody would sit down and then if they had to kill everybody in Guyana, then they would have to do too. It's about time people stand up and end the nonsense that they are going on with. It's about time it's overbearing. Look at the Andrews boy they killed up the bank. I was listening to the program. The police were telling my brother that if they could shoot him and find a reason. All of these things is so what? All of these nonsense they're going on with, what is the cause of it? A few dollars and they ain't even gotten the few dollars. They ain't even getting it. But just power and foolishness. That's all I could see in them. Power and foolishness. But you know what? One day they would realize what it is. One day. That is my thing. You have a blessing.
Yeah, thank you very much for calling. Now, the brother before that young lady that I called back, he wanted to see a unity between the two parties so everything can stop. But let me inform this young man, and I think that he's still looking. Politics is politics. Let me help you to get that straight. Politics, it's a game. You hear me? It's who runs or rules the best wins. I don't get involved in that because somehow or the other I don't like the agreement of some things that are go on and that goes on. What is the problem in this country is that politics are now interfering with the constitutional democratic arms of the sovereignty of this country, which is the people. That is what gets me on the other side, because if you want to be a politician, fine. You got your games you want to play, fine. I don't get into that, because I allow you to play your games. But when it interferes with the livelihoods of the citizens of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, that is where the civil rights of the people that I stands up for will speak out. Because you know why? It should never interfere with the livelihoods of the people. If you want to kill yourselves, that is your business. Don't murder the people of the land. If you want to run around bumping each other off, that is your business. I'm not interested in that. But when your actions affects the people, and the people decides to activate the constitution, which is to hold a regional and general elections, and you interfere with the decisions, the will of the people, which is the constitution, that is when you have moved beyond politics. This has got no more to do with democracy. You can imagine a liar, that dunce that we call a president, talking about he represents the people of which country? When you have a man as a vice president who's responsible for the death of 1,480 plus Guyanese. And up to now, we can't hold him accountable. The Guyana police force can't hold that murderer accountable. Because he's immune from the law. The Constitution says so. So now we got to beg the ICC, the International Criminal Court, to put out a warrant by Interpol to arrest that criminal. You could imagine. And then you telling me I must hold on and walls down the lane with this man who's responsible. This is a criminal that we're talking about. Crimes against humanity. Then he drives around in the state's vehicle using taxpayers' money. Then you're asking people about evidence. Some of them asking people about evidence, like somehow or the other they weren't in Guyana. There are people who are sitting in jail right now as I speak with no evidence at all, and they're in jail because the magistrate let give them mandate. And you got a criminal running around this place where all the evidence is there because he was president. He stands accountable for the actions of what went on in this state for 12 years. Sorry, my boy, who called in. I can't find unity in that. The PPP wants to unite, or they want some unity between the people. They got to get rid of the murderers that they have sitting up there. Those criminals, financial, human, and whatever else left back. constitutional criminals also too. Some of them committed high crimes. They're still sitting there. They're ministers. You are asking me to make some sort of agreement with criminals. I can't do that. I'm sorry. I am not a politician. I care less about the APNU, AFC, or the PNC. But I vote for policies and issues. I don't vote for race. But I'm telling you this, those who are still sitting down and hoping that these two major parties come together and find a common cause and a goal, you're going to wait long. Because the PPP thinks that dictatorship is the way to go and murdering people. And AP and UFC, which combines of the PNC and a combination of parties that makes up that, they need to get their acts together. Because I do not intend to sit down for another 23 years, because apparently your quietness is asking the Guyanese public to have another 22 years or 23 years of a murderous reign of people. And we're sitting down and we're accepting all of these discriminatory actions, slavery and murder, open racism to the full maximum. And I can't understand who tell these people that they're different from us. They're black just like me. They're black just like me. They ain't got nothing separating them within the texture of the hair. You know, the Jamaican Minister of Transportation between, let us say between 2005 and 10, raised the bus fare, the public transportation fare to 5 cents. He had to catch the next plane, do the Michael Jackson out of that country. Slobodan Milosevic, who thinks, and that was the president of Yugoslavia, the ex-president, that his reign of dictatorship could have lasted. The people rise up. Every installed president that the island of Haiti had, the people rised up. Guyana has went through years of tyrannous reign. People has lost their lives. You could imagine Jim Jones responsible for 940 people that he killed, not by his bare hands, but by those who followed him to ensure that the people drink the cyanide, the Kool-Aid. That was his responsibility. And he made news worldwide. You talk about Guyana now, before we found out, people say, oh, the place of Jim Jones killed them people. 940 plus people died in Jonestown, all the way in the interior. Bharat Jagdeo holds the same responsibility. 1,480 plus people died under his reign. I wonder what makes him a saint. I really wonder what makes him a saint. Because he's better than Jim Jones. Far worse. That genocide that he committed, that he's responsible for. Because he was the executive president. And he continues his murderous reign through that dunce of a president that we have. Yet still, we're saying, what we can do? Are you serious? You mean what we can do? What are these people so afraid of? What are the union presidents so, oh, hold on, wait. You can't drive the big fancy car no more. Or your children can't go to the fancy expensive schools anymore. So you could imagine you give up the lives. I can't understand where the brains of these people that we call leaders that are leading us, whether in the union, in the political field, whether in the local government, where are they? Where are these people? You can't call yourself a leader and don't expect to face these kinds of tyrannous acts. You got to stand up and face it. You call yourself rich boy. You call yourself a political leader. Stand up and face it. You're frightened for going to sit down in jail. You ain't no leader. You know what leaders do? You know what a responsible person is do? He gives up this so you can live. Because that's the fact. That's the fact. He gives up this so you can live. It is better to die for something than live for nothing. What's the sense? Living for nothing. To watch another brother and sister die in the streets. If you are the man that there's so much hope that can do something for them, that can be a representation for them, when you yourself is giving up that hope, I'm trying to understand, how can you call yourself a leader and still live in a country that tyranny and terror, mayhem, racism, murder, all these things are going on, and you still living in a country driving a big fancy vehicle and calling yourself a leader, and your people are dying in the streets. They're suffering. Your children are being raped every day. Boy, children are being murdered and being disadvantaged of by the drugs and guns of the criminal underworld. Guyana is now in a state of anarchy, a failed state, and continues to be a failed state. And these leaders standing up to call themselves ministers. Ministers of what? Of a murderous regime? I don't know since when they're pretending that they're suddenly representing black people because they know they don't have a race constituency anymore. They can't win an election. So the majority of the people now left in the country is black because everybody else that they claim to be of their constituency left the run out. You can imagine your own people run away and leave you because you're so murderous. Them who they till over there complain, oh yes, Barrett Jack, come back home and polish it off. See how you're living. See how you're going to live. You come back home, jump on the plane so much you so love the man. Come home. Don't get on the social media and put people platform and talk craziness. Come back home here and live in this tyrannous climate that we're living in and see if you're going to stay. The black people got nowhere to go. That's how most of us say, we say, we ain't got anywhere to go because we got the money like you got to jump on the plane and beat out. And go wherever you're going and sit down and say, well, look, you can stay here for a year or two. Can you imagine? Can you imagine prostitution among young girls has risen so much that is unspeakable to be heard of? Oh, the Minister of Human Services and Social Protection, she don't look like we, so she can't represent us. And the people who work under her, posting up on Facebook, can't know there for say we're going to sit down in those communities and find out the mental constraints of why this is a fact. They ain't going there. Oh, suddenly they are criminals. Can't go in that village. I might be robbed. So what is your position? You're supposed to be a public servant. You're not getting that. You're not getting that at all. It's supposed to be equal rights for all. That is what it's supposed to be. You're not seeing that. And then you're standing up there talking to people like you want to represent black people and reparations for them. You want to accept my money? This is the best thing to do. You want my money? Take it and go. Don't come back. Leave my country to me. That's the best option because apparently that's what you want. So you can take it and go. Don't come back. Because if you come back, you're in for a hell of a hobble. Because the money you're killing us for means nothing. And the money we're giving up our sons and daughters for is nothing. Because as far as they're concerned, you can't put the car in the pot, nor the house. You can't eat the furnitures. You can't bake the money. You can't make a meal out of it. It is simple. Protect your food security and you protect your population and your country. Oh, but apparently that doesn't work. The US dollar seems to be more. Or the Guyanese currency seems to be of a value more than the lives of us. You want to work for the people? Start from the grassroots. see what they want and listen to them. It's not about you who's a politician. But oh no, you're encouraging discrimination of our elders. So they tear them apart. So suddenly nobody, I don't understand really going on, you know. This man who is worse than Jim Jones sits there to represent us who has done nothing to them. And then you are telling me that that's the order of the day? Man, I believe some people smoking some things real funny, you know. I somehow or the other, I think that we lose our own cerebral capacity to think seriously. And we're an educated nation. We are so much educated. I am trying to understand what kind of education we got. And these people, these murderers running around this place got people frightened, educated people, doctors and lawyers. Or we're just a regurgitation of what we learned. I think maybe that's the thing. Maybe we can't progress beyond what we learned. We can't stand over the things that we have learned. So we regurgitate. So we only call ourselves doctors and lawyers, but we can't move from beyond that. Because if you're so much afraid and you have the knowledge to bring a system down that is so tyrannous and murderous, you have that knowledge, you have that capability. If you can't move beyond your degree, you're just regurgitating. You know, I have some friends that I talk to, and they're not Guyanese. They're basically foreigners who follow the Gavin Matthews show, the GMS Live Voice of Democracy. And they will call from time to time. They ask me these questions. If it is you alone that is doing all of this, aren't you afraid of a retaliatory action from the government? And I said, no. I'm not afraid of being afraid. I have no fear of no system, of no human being just like me. Because why? You got to die just like me. Nobody going to heaven before they die. Oh, sorry. I may have used the wrong word because the word heaven means to look above. That's what it means. So a lot of us, we look above. We look up into the sky. It means heaven. It's a Greek understanding. So when you look at the word heaven, it means to look up. So I don't know where most of us tells ourselves that we're going. Because we cannot go out there unless we die. We got to die first before the spirit travels. Like the old African proverb. So what are we killing ourselves out every single day? What are we killing? I can't even. Why are we killing our own brothers and sisters? So what? Money? It can't take us farther than our nose. The same people who claim to be ruling the system dying out just like us. They can't. You know, the amazing thing is that don't matter how much these rulers think they're better than us, no matter how much billions of dollars, you know, and it's the simple things of life tells us that how can a man profit the entire world when he still got to die? So how he profit in it? Or generations can still live on his name? So who's better than us when you still got to die? Nobody's better than us. That means you can't make me uncomfortable. I am going to revolt. I am going to revolt. You need to look at yourself and understand what is my purpose. My purpose is to sit here and be dictated over for someone to come and take away my rights. Well, Guyanese, March 2nd, 2020 gone. The PPP has took away your rights to the ownership of your wife and children because they are now in control. They are in your house to tell you how you're going to live and when you must die. Can't do nothing about it. Well, for people like I think you mightn't can't pass me gate because plainly, I don't know what gonna happen. And these people are shipping this country out, selling it to the highest bidder. Now you can imagine there's a promise to Suriname in our oil blocks. So they can see the need to invest and take from us when we can't even shape up our own selves. These murderous gang of people, terror, that is all they spread. This is all they do from day to day, trying to discriminate of our own leaders, the discrimination. They parade them before the courts without any evidence. They take away their livelihoods just to keep them quiet. Nobody can talk. You talk, a man turn up at your house with a gun. Well, roll on, my brother. Since you big and bad, you might could take my life, but you can't take the spirit within me. Because I'm fired up. Can't stop that fire. It is going to burn. And it's going to continue burning. To let you know that this force is not a force to reckon with. It's time to wake up as a people and as a nation. These people care less about you. You're looking for hope? Start giving it up and start looking at revolution. Because if you think hope is going to come in the pace of how this political life is in Guyana, you're going to wait and continue waiting for another 23 years and more. So they're looking to kill you out within a lifetime. Take a good look around you. You could imagine 3,000 people done the home from the public service sector. 3,000. Nobody talking about them. 3,000 and more. And these people sending you home You turn up without a COVID card, you got to go home. If you don't want to do the COVID card every day, every week, you got to spend 3 times your salary to go to work. Or then what are you working for? To go do a PCR test. When I talk, everybody got a problem. You could imagine when I talk, when this nigga talks, according to one man, everybody got a problem. I'm not supposed to be educated. Well, I'm sorry. Nobody can talk for me. Not that dunce. You could imagine how disrespectful it is. My 11-year-old is far much brighter than that dunce we got of a president. And I got to sit down and swallow them tablets that he's sharing out to people. I really want to know what this country is really coming to. Seriously. See, because apparently now our leaders are now installed. Nobody's voting for anything now because our rights are being taken away. We don't, well, the time has passed for local government elections because registration was supposed to be sent in August for local government elections next month. So we can't get local government elections. Then, this is the funniest part, and nobody's saying nothing about it, but the news media kind of talking about it in a very quiet form. They have something named the Public Accounts Committee. And like, because we don't have a Ministry of Finance, the distribution of the public's funds, which is the taxpayers' dollars, cannot be accounted for. So they don't want a Public Accounts Committee to be formulated properly, which is Parliament, because this de facto administration can't give an account for the monies that they're spending. They don't want to be, how must I say, be paraded to give an accountability. You making joke with them thieves we got? And I don't know it's a big thing because with the thief is petty money, it ain't making sense. But they're taking it away. So we can ask. So suddenly everybody that working in Parliament who is sick ain't come to work there on leave. So to formulate, and here the Speaker of the National Assembly is only bluff anyway. You summons in people to your office for accountability of not activating the Public Account Committee when you know what's going on to. Who you think you fooling? You fooling yourself. You know, in everything that we do as a nation now depends upon our tomorrow as a people. If we do nothing in this time of tyranny and terror, mayhem and murder, we will do nothing tomorrow. We will accept death and carnage. I'm serious. And then we got people running around telling you that we need to pray some more. Pray where? Pray without works is dead. You can't call yourself a man of God or a woman of God and just sit down praying and hoping that something will appear out of the sky miraculously to change things. It's you got to get up and move. Seriously, it's you got to get up and move. And if you don't move, you're going to die right there praying. Don't bother with the ceremony of the monk with the game up on the Sundays and after Sundays. All of them got one agenda. Because you're weak, you become the prey to the predator. All of them got one agenda. You call it the faith-based initiative. So you can remain in that same pocket of enslavement and remain right there. And they're going to tell you one thing. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. That word, that simple line in that simple sentence is what is going to be told to you constantly. Whilst Jack Dio and his friends are taking your wealth, your sovereignty, and your life away from you. Yes, don't look at me. I used to go to church. But believe you me, when I go to church, nobody don't really ask me them questions. Think they just ask me them questions. Some of them don't even ask me no question at all. And I got mine with the same because I just raised my hand. And I stop. Nobody gonna sit down and tell me stubbornness and I can sit down and swallow it. So I turn my right cheek when you box me on my left. You gotta kill me. This is the only thing I take in. I prefer death than enslavement. No buying and timing for no psychological chain. And discriminate against me. Thing and work. You see what's going on now? See what's going on now? Every single day you get it in the newspapers is something that destroys the moral capability of our country and our people. And it continues to grow. It's like a cancer. It's a cell that is so destructive. And we cannot understand what is going on. Y'all stop wanting to be entertained and know what I'm telling y'all. Stop wanting to be entertained. It is time to become educated of what is happening in our country. Stay focused, keep your eyes on the ball. Because people like me ain't gonna be around forever. Sometimes, somehow, I may come down my stairs. When I turn around the corner, my life may end. Take heed of what I'm saying tonight. Stand over the information that you're receiving and focus thereof on it. Because your life that they're taking away from you that you think it's a 5,000 Guyana dollars, it's far beyond what you think. It is bigger than that. And the hint I give you every night, if you can pass a budget for 3 billion Guyana dollars, that is 15 million US dollars. Here is the question I want to ask you. Two men getting a contract for 900 million US dollars. They have to find financiers to get that contract rolling. Where do they get the 1/3% from? Their country can't produce more than 15 million US dollars. Where they getting the 1/3 of 900 million US dollars? Tell me. We can't even find the money as secured bonds. Our bonds, yes, it might have a worth in US currency, but it's not liquid cash. Because we don't have the currency. The Bank of Guyana can't make available anything more than 20 million US dollars. Anything over that is money laundering. Because your country can't get it in taxes. We don't have the population. And we sit down worrying about petty things. Petty nonsense. We best wake up. It's a distraction. Worrying about petty things, but who want to vote for who, and who looking for rule party and all this nonsense. It's a distraction. Because by the time you all wake up, you ain't got a country. I wonder what will you claim? Tell yourself it's a Guyanese? When? Wake up. Wake up and smell the coffee because it's brewing. Because when it come off the pot, you ain't getting none. It's a foreigner who's going to sip and enjoy the benefits of it. As I said on my show the last time, my referendum is still up, and I expect you to continue to vote so we can have this process completed. It's far too long. It's been far too long. I ain't getting the kind of votes that I need still. Do not like it. Vote. Do not press the like button. Press the thank you for voting button. Because it makes no sense. That is not voting. If I have the amount of people that are liking the ballot as voters, it would have already been into the office of the Chancellor of the Judiciary to represent the will of the people, which is the Constitution. Go on the page and vote. Open up the ballot, read the 2 questions, answer 1 out of the 2. Fill in your name and your email address and press the thank you for voting button. That's the only way to complete the voting and contribute to this process as I ask you daily on the GoFundMe site, so we can have enough funds to deal with this aspect. I say to you to stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, and wear a mask. And as I thank all of you for joining in tonight and those who have joined and contributed, I'm asking you, if you have a problem understanding what I've said tonight pertaining to the voting or any other thing, call me on the number before you, 611-6575. And I will be able to assist you in this process. This is Dr. Matthews saying good night and Cheerios for now.